Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Good morning or good afternoon to our beloved lecturer, Mrs. Haizi Salzima Ahmad. So today we will be discussing the depreciation of the Malaysian ringgit and its impact on the economy. To begin, let's look at a general overview of Malaysia's current economic landscape. So for the first, currency depreciation. What is currency depreciation? Currency depreciation refers to the decrease in the purchasing power of our currency. This means that when the ringgit weakens, it costs more to buy the same goods and services, which is leading to a rise in the overall cost of living. So next, looking at the economy, Malaysia have a population of over 33 million in 2025 and operates under a mixed economic system. The government plays a significant role in key sectors such as oil, palm oil, rubber, tourism, and manufacturing. And also, we are one of the top global exporters of palm oil and electrical and electronic products. So, when it comes to trade, our main trading partners are China, the US, Singapore, and Japan. We export products like electronics, petroleum, LNG, which known as liquefied natural gas, and palm oil, while import like machineries, spare parts, and consumer goods. On to the second part of the introduction. Unemployment in Malaysia has remained relatively low, around 3.5% in recent years, with the majority of jobs concentrated in services, manufacturing, and agriculture. Regarding economic growth, in 2024, Malaysia's GDP stood at approximately 1.9 trillion ringgit Malaysia, with a steady growth rate of around 4.2%. However, we are also facing challenges, particularly from the depreciation of the ringgit. The value of the ringgit has dropped against major currencies like the US dollar. This has made imports more expensive, pushed up inflation, and increased the cost of repaying foreign debts. These effects are felt across businesses and by consumers.
So, for the factors, value of nation ringgit can change over time due to several global and local factors. This usually happens when the demand for foreign currencies like US dollar is higher, economic issues in major trading partners like China, and global rising prices such as oil and commodities. The first factor is influence of dollar's value. As we all know, US dollar is the world's main reserve currency and is used in trade and international transactions. When the value of US dollar is become stronger, investors will prefer to invest in US rather than us for a better returns. When the demand for dollar increase, demand for ringgit will decrease, and this causing ringgit value to drop. The second factor is economic uncertainty in China. We know that China is one of our biggest trading partners. When China economy is facing crisis and slow factory output, it will create fears among investors since we depend heavily in trade with China. So when investors pull out their investment, it will make the demand for ringgit become lower since the value is weak. The last factors is oil price and commodities. In these factors, even if Malaysia is one of countries that producing oil, we also import oil from other countries that use US dollar to value it. In this situation, the oil price will increase and we need more US dollar, and this causing ringgit value to drop. Increase in increase in global price for commodities also make our ringgit weaker.
And now I will be explaining about effects on inflation, especially how it affects Malaysia. First, we have imported inflation. When ringgit currency is weaker than the other currencies such as US dollar, the cost of imported goods will be increases and it will be more expensive for our country to import goods into Malaysia. And this will lead to higher input costs for businesses, which then will finally lead to inflation of the country. The second effect on inflation is exchange rate pass-through. Weaker ringgit means higher imported input costs, which will make the overall price of goods and services to go high up and to rise. This is called push inflation. In most cases, the businesses will pass the higher cost to consumer, which will make the price to go up and up. The third and the last effect that we will be discussing about is higher fuel and energy costs. So usually, the global oil prices is quoted in US dollar. So when ringgit currency weakens, the cost of importing fuel from outside Malaysia will become more expensive. And after 2014, Malaysia started to use a managed float system for our currency because the Malaysian citizens are no longer provided the fuel subsidies. So, this made us more vulnerable and more sensitive to the changes of global oil prices, even when the small changes will affect the cost of fuel in Malaysia. This play a role in increasing inflation in our country. So, all the three effects I mentioned before is related to each other, and that is how depreciation of ringgit affects Malaysians' inflation.
How to overcome? We use monetary policy. It is a government policy on money supply and credit creation, aimed at achieving higher economic growth, stability in prices, and full employment. It is divided into two, which is contractionary policy and expansionary policy. Contractionary policy is to keep inflation under control, which is we lower the money supply and raising interest rate. While the expansionary policy, we use it to boost the economy in times of downturn or weak development. We lower the interest rate and expand the money supply. Under the monetary policy, there is overnight policy rate. What is it? Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM, maintains its OPR at 3%. The OPR is the benchmark interest rate set by BNM, which influences borrowing costs, inflation, and currency value. It is the key tool used in Malaysia's monetary policy. Hence, the BNM's decision, which the latest monetary policy meeting, they decide to remain the OPR at 3%. The objective is to attract foreign capital and enhance investment appeal, and to support the ringgit by narrowing rate differentials with the US. There is also macroprudential. What is macroprudential policy? It is a financial policy that safeguards the entire financial system, not just individual institutions. The aim is to prevent systemic risks such as excessive household or corporate debt, banking sector collapse, and helps to avoid financial crisis and promote sustainable growth. How does it work? It will set standards for financial institutions to maintain strong capital position, manage risk effectively. It will encourage banks to raise capital, not reduce lending, to meet required ratios. It also allows financial system to remain strong without slowing down the economy.
Since Bank Negara Malaysia cannot overcome the issue of depreciation of Ringgit Malaysia alone, thus applying mix of policy like fiscal policy and foreign exchange will help in strengthening Malaysia Ringgit by reducing demandful inflation and controlling rate increases. Contractionary fiscal policy was carried out to reduce total demand in the economy. So by using this formula, we can decrease aggregate demand by reducing the government spending, and also we can decrease consumer spending by increasing tax. In mid 2025, Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has been targeting to revamp the gasoline subsidies and subsidies for boarding school, so that the high income family and individuals will have to pay more for the services. As to increase government's revenue, Anwar Ibrahim said that government has been planning to increase tax for sweet drinks, as it can be beneficial to lower consumer spending and also for the sake of public health. Okay, so the effect are we can improve the overall economic stability and investor confidence, as by applying this policy we can narrow the fiscal deficit and reduce government debt risk by avoiding debt accumulation, and also leading to a better productivity in managing budget. Foreign exchange act as a currency valuation between Malaysia ringgit against US dollar. It is because the actual trading activity directly influence the exchange rate, which means the lower exchange rate indicates the stronger currency. Okay, so the effect by applying this foreign exchange policy, we can boost investors' confidence, as we can ensure that the exchange rate represent true market demand and resulting in more accurate and stable currency value.
So, for the conclusion, the depreciation of Malaysian ringgit is caused by both external and internal factors, including strong US dollar, China's economic slowdown, and also rising oil prices. These issues have increased imports costs and inflation, impacting daily life. To address this, the government has implemented monetary policies, while Bank Negara Malaysia has raised the OPR to control inflation and attract investment. Efforts also include reducing subsidies and improving tax policies. Moving forward, Malaysia must strengthen local industry, reduce reliance on imports, and shift towards a high-income economy. The government and citizens alike must work together to ensure strategic, future-focused policies. A stable ringgit is crucial for investor confidence, trade, and national well-being.
That's all from us, Group 2. Thank you.